Operation Confidence proudly presents America's Invisible Heroes radio talk show. Tune in weekly on Sundays from 2 p.m. to 3:30 p.m. Pacific time with your host, Consuela Mackey, co-host, U.S. Air Force veteran Matt Davison, announcer Taylor Marcella, U.S. Army veteran and Strategies for Hope segment host, Dr. Kathy Cash, U.S. Army Reserve veteran and entertainment segment host, Charles Whitehead, U.S. Army Special Forces veteran, and I Once Was Whole segment host, Richard Cook, U.S. Army veteran and Lifeline for Women's Veterans segment host, Martha Elena Varela, National Faith Director, Chaplain, and Veterans in Recovery segment host, Anthony Akampora, and U.S. Air Force veteran and Incarcerated to Success segment host, Kevin Lewandowski. For more information or to be a guest on our show, email info@operationconfidence.org.
Operation Confidence is a grassroots nonprofit. The organization's mission is to provide stable housing for veterans who have experienced homelessness, as well as providing a wide range of supportive services. To help accomplish our goal, a successful landowner has donated land for the project, a world-renowned architect has offered to design the houses, and construction classes from the local community colleges will take part in building the houses. Your support and donations are needed. To get involved, please visit our website at www.operationconfidence.org or email info@operationconfidence.com.
Okay, well, welcome everyone, and thank you for tuning in to America's Invisible Heroes. Our show is dedicated to our veterans and their families. Yes, I'm your host, Consuela Mackey, Executive Director of our grassroots nonprofit organization called Operation Confidence. No, I'm not a veteran, but my heart goes out to our American heroes, especially those who are disabled and may have experienced homelessness. For those who are new to the show, American Invisible Heroes was established to provide a platform for our veterans to be able to share their experiences, heartfelt stories, resources, challenges, and accomplishments. Operation Confidence and its board of directors would like to take this opportunity to acknowledge Black History Month. Charles has some information that he'd like to share at this time, and then we'll continue on.
All righty. I'm going to talk about Roy, wait a minute here. His name is Anthony Barboza. Anthony Barboza. Anthony was the first African-American photographer on the staff of Life magazine and later helped found Essence. He also was the first Black writer and director of a studio film, and his second movie, Shaft, helped to shape the blaxploitation era in the 70s. Parks famously told Life in 1909, "I saw that the camera could be a weapon against poverty, against racism, against all sorts of social wrongs. I knew at that point, I had to have a camera." And I'm going to share a picture with him that you see. He was, doing his thing. Let's see here. This is the man here. You got the look like, yeah, okay. Don't weaponize me, So yeah, this is our guy, Mr. Barboza, Anthony Barboza.
Okay.
Responsible chef, you know what that means. Shut your mouth.
Well, thank you so much, Chuck. We just wanted to acknowledge one of our heroes.
Absolutely.
Okay. All right. Well, now, as all of you may be aware, at least our team is aware, that Operation Confidence mission is to provide stable housing, as mentioned, with a wide range of supportive services. We have over 11,000, no, we're up to 12,000 now views on our YouTube channel that we're extremely excited about. We got that within the last 17 months. And we want to ask our listeners and our viewers to please donate $1 or more for our teeny house project. That's to help our veterans that are disabled and those who have experienced homelessness. Your donations can change those individuals' lives. Those are our American heroes. Now, I'd like to turn the mic over to Charles to introduce our co-host for today. Take it away, Charles.
All right. Our co-host today is, well, we're going to have Matt do his thing first?
Yeah, but we want to introduce everyone first. Okay.
All right. Well, let's see. Our host today, you know, I'm sorry, but my computer is doing something funny here, and I'm trying to, you know, back and forth. Yeah. Okay. All right. Our co-host today, we have Sean Brown, who has a monthly segment host called The Loan Coach. We have attorney Eric Olson, who I don't know if he's on yet, but he has a monthly segment called Helps Nonprofit Law Firm. And we have U.S. Navy veteran Calvin Poole. He has a monthly segment host of Blind Veterans Helping Blind Veterans. And then we have U.S. Army veteran Roy Brown. He has a monthly segment host called Vet to Vet Perspectives.
And you know what? We have our honored guest, not our honored guest, our honored co-host and Vice President of Operation Confidence's organization, Matt Davison, U.S. Air Force veteran. Take it away, Matt.
Okay, it is my distinct pleasure to introduce a different kind of a guest for Operation Confidence. This is the young man, happens to be my grandson. And I'll just let him speak for himself. Go ahead. I'm introducing now Connor Davison.
Good afternoon. My name is Cameron Davison. I am here to acknowledge the service and sacrifice made by the veterans of this nation. Even though I am much too young to have served, I recognize the importance of the hard work and dedication made by the men and women in uniform who have fought and still fight for our freedom. The worst injury to ever come to a veteran is to be forgotten. I am taking this opportunity to make sure that every veteran and current service member isn't forgotten and will never be forgotten. Your strength and devotion is a true inspiration to not just me, but to every American. I thank you all from the bottom of my heart.
Oh, wow. What a beautiful thing.
All right.
So wonderful. Thank you so much for those beautiful words.
You're welcome.
You have to come back we need you a part of the team.
Amen.
Okay.
We're going to be the future of the show.
That's right. Charles, you're going to introduce our next co-host. At least give his background for us.
All right, we're going to talk about U.S. Army vet Roy Brown. Roy Brown is the founder of Vet to Vet of Greater Los Angeles and has served as a national trainer, peer specialist certification for veterans, and continues to support veterans throughout the country. Vet to Vet has over 30 locations across the U.S. with support groups at VA hospitals, in communities, and in churches. Research done on Vet to Vet shows that facilitators of these groups tend to lead more productive lives, show fewer hospitalizations, and ultimately become more productive in their community. Vet to Vet has been of service to over 1 million veterans and assists veterans in their transition back to civilian life with support groups such as mental illness, anonymous, and wellness recovery. Vet to Vet also aids in resume writing and life skills. Roy's guest today is Moe Armstrong, a U.S. Navy vet who Senator Richard Blumenthal of Connecticut presented 5 medals and 3 ribbons for his military service. Armstrong is the founder of Vet to Vet, a program where veterans mentor other veterans in wellness and recovery. Moe Armstrong is a courageous patriot whose service and sacrifice are profoundly inspiring and deserving of this high recognition by a grateful nation, Blumenthal said. I'm just chopping the words up today. The bravery he displayed on July the 4th, 1965, when he rescued an injured comrade under enemy fire and treated the Marine's wounds after bringing him to safety is particularly powerful. Blumenthal added, his exemplary service has continued as he works to help his fellow veterans in Connecticut, and his model of caring and character should lead us all to aim higher and do better. I am honored to join in this recognition that is long overdue. The highest medal Blumenthal presented to Armstrong was the Navy Commendation Medal with Valor Device, a medal the U.S. Navy veteran received for heroic achievement in combat. Blumenthal also presented the following medals and ribbons to Armstrong. He got the Navy Good Conduct Medal, the National Defense Service Medal, the Vietnam Service Medal with 2 bronze stars, the Presidential Unit Citation Ribbon, the Navy Unit Commendation Ribbon, the Combat Action Ribbon, and the Vietnam Campaign Medal. All right, take it away, Roy.
Hi, good morning, everyone. I'm pleased to add to that. Moe, who's probably
Your
had a
sound,
big
your sound is choppy.
Okay.
Let's
Let
see.
me see. Is this better?
Yeah, that's better.
Okay. Well, I'm gonna give it to Moe, who is not only my mentor but my best friend, and I hope to grow up to be just like him. I also received, let's see, I was up in Boston, and they actually had a Moe Armstrong Day. The governor blessed Moe with.
Wow.
So he's the only person in our field that I know that had a day from his state. Okay, Moe, take it away.
Okay, well, thanks, Roy. And Roy, you are my best friend, and I'm really glad to say that. We started Vet to Vet. Roy and I met on the Ohio River many years ago. I was on a boat trip, and we hit it off good. And I could see where Roy really had his heart in the right place, because this is more than a job. Our motto was each one, reach one, teach one. And so to go out there and do that, each of us has to go out and find somebody, but to find somebody and work with them and let them know what's available. Most people don't know what services are available, and they definitely don't know. I had been discharged from the military with a psychiatric condition back in 1966, and I didn't know what was wrong with me. And so, it took me years to find out how I was affected by this psychiatric condition or this mental health condition. It took me several years, and I lost a lot of time doing almost 2 decades, losing time, not knowing how to rein in the anger, or not knowing how to stop the substance abuse, or not knowing how to live a different life so that I could be fully productive. I always say to people, I can be mentally ill, but I don't have to act crazy. And so, so some people, it took me a long time to figure that out, though. That was 20 years of my life that was lost. And I always believed in education. Speaking of Black History Month, my mom, we were integrationists during a segregated time. And every summer, my mom would go to Piney Woods, Mississippi, and she would teach in Lawrence Jones's school. And Mr. Jones, he took people out of sharecropping down in Mississippi just with a blackboard and benches. And, that had a profound impact on my life, because I could see that, education can be done with almost nothing. All you need is a pen and paper and some books, right? And you go in and you teach people what's this material, and people talk about it and they learn and they internalize that. So almost all Vet to Vet that we did and we do is based on an educational thing, that gladly teach, gladly learn. So wherever we go, we're trying to learn, and at the same time, we're trying to teach what we learned. We're trying to share with others what we found out. And we use these educational materials, like Roy said, the Recovery Workbook, Mental Illness Anonymous, and other books. And we go out and we take these books with us, and we set up our peer support meetings based on educational materials. And that's a lot of the kind of groundwork of Vet to Vet and what we do and how we do it. Do any of you have any questions?
No, we're just learning so much great stuff about vet to vet. I'm gonna have Roy to tell you what Operation Confidence is doing, and I hope you take us under your wings.
Well, I think it's more of a cooperative effort. I'll be glad to work with you. And, also, the thing is that, many times when I started this, I found out, and it's strange because I had been homeless in Los Angeles. Matter of fact, I was homeless in Westwood, where Westwood Boulevard meets Broxton. So, there was a Bank of America on that corner, and I lived behind the buildings where the dumpsters were. I've taken Roy to the place where I used to live as a homeless guy in Los Angeles. So, many people who are homeless, well, we've had housing, but we keep losing our housing. And so, that's another reason I set up Vet to Vet. I mean, how am I going to get sane, stable, safe, and sober? These 4 S's, and not lose my housing, not lose my benefits. I had been turned down 3 times for veterans benefits, educational benefits, is being told, that because I had a psychiatric condition that I wouldn't be eligible for school because I would fail. And in the end, I got accepted, and I did 250 some credits in 7 years, 2 master's degrees, a bachelor's degree in English literature, a minor in Spanish, and a minor in music, and graduated valedictorian in my class. So anything is possible, but people don't understand that those of us that have psychiatric conditions, substance abuse conditions, we can be taught, we can learn, we can be worked with, right? But most people don't want to do that. They want to just kind of do the physical therapy, the mental therapy thing, rather than teach people and take materials in that we can take home and we can study and we can learn from. And that's how we get, I think, to that sane, stable, safe, and sober element, right. But to do that, the people that we work with, the vet to vet facilitators, have to be the 4 F's, which is fun, fresh, flexible, and forgiving. And forgiving probably seems to be the hardest. And so, how we teach facilitators to be mutual is also just as problematic, because most people want to come in and they want to kind of tell the others how to live and what they need to do to get their lives straight. And even though the advice is good, the advice isn't very well received by many of the people in our program. So that's what we also emphasize: fun, fresh, flexible, and forgiving with all the facilitators. We prefer to call them facilitators that do this, because they're actually facilitating classes with books and materials, just not sitting around talking about, like, how do we feel? We're miserable. That's what we wouldn't be in the mental health system if we weren't miserable. Okay. So, I mean, we wouldn't be in the substance abuse thing. And also we have to just get it out of our head that there's 2 components: substance abuse and mental health, because what we keep doing is sending people through this one revolving door, right? Well, you're too mentally ill for me, you got to go to substance abuse so you quit using. And the substance abuse people go, well, hey, you're too far out for me, man. You can't go here until you go over to the mental health thing and start taking your meds. So we have people going through this double revolving door. Right. And so with vet to vet, we treat both people at the same time. We say, okay, this is a condition which is both psychiatric and has substance abuse elements to it, and can have substance abuse elements to it. And how are we going to get people sane, stable, safe, and sober with the materials that we have? And so we do that, and we've done a very good job of it wherever we're allowed to go in. I mean, a lot of people don't want peer support. There are obstacles, and there is resistance to peer support. It reminds me, when I talked about my parents being integrationists back in the 60s, back in 59, 58, 56. Mom had to sit in the back of the class, and Mom had to sit in the back of the bus. We didn't wait for the buses to get integrated, right? Our job, we sat in the back of the bus, right? That's the way Mom was. So, we have the same resistance actually to a lot of people that are in our programs that now want to give back and work. The programs themselves aren't very accepting. There seems to be some kind of prejudice. There seems to be some kind of resistance to actually recruiting, developing, and training people that have come through our programs to go back and work in our programs. And Vet to Vet's done a very good job, I think, of showing. Roy's ended up getting, about 60 people hired in the VA, haven't you, Roy? Something like that, 60, 70 people. hired an EA in greater Los Angeles, and out here in Connecticut, we've had about 20 or 30. I always felt that if people like got into that point where they were good facilitators, they would then become good mental health workers, because they would be setting the groundwork where they would be mutual. They'd be able to share, they'd be able to discuss, they'd be able to see. It's not just teaching, we're learning at the same time. That's why we say that gladly learn, gladly teach. We're learning and teaching at the same time. We're trying to find out what's right in front of us and learn. We're writing the book as we go along, basically. And if people have that kind of attitude, they're going to succeed in getting people sane, stable, safe, and sober, I think.
Moe, you may have mentioned it, but when was Vet to Vet founded?
Vet to Vet was founded. God, Roy, when does that go back to? That goes back a long time ago.
Well,
16, 17 years.
It's been
almost 20.
2003, 2004. Right?
About 20 years now, right?
All right.
About 20 years. It started off as a research project with Yale University and the Veterans Hospital here to see the effectiveness of peer support, which we completed. We published 4 scientific papers to prove the effectiveness of peer support. And even then, we still can't get accepted. So at times, the system resistance is still there. It's so strange because, as I was talking with you earlier, Consuela, I was talking about my cancer treatments, right?
Right.
And, in the world of oncology, as I get into the world of oncology, I'm just beginning to introduce peer support to the world of oncology also because there needs to be a lot more aftercare. I mean, we just send people in, we radiate them, we chemo them, and then we send them home and we think they're just going to get well at the house. And that's not going to happen, So a lot of people out there need a lot more follow-up, a lot more aftercare. And I think that aftercare and that support is going to come from people who went through programs and got their own lives together and now want to go back and share and have other people have the same opportunities that they got or better.
That's right.
Generally how it goes.
Pardon?
So that's generally how it goes.
Yeah. I think so myself. I think that those of us that have gone through these programs and come out, that we are a great resource that's under-tapped and underdeveloped. So that's why, and that's why we keep saying to people that our motto is each one, reach one, teach one, right?
That's it.
When I go to those oncology waiting rooms, you better believe I'm asking a lot of questions around there. You know what I mean? You better believe, I'm coming out of stage 4 terminal cancer. I had 2 of these in a year, right? And so, and I'm still like got autotoxicity. They had to put a pacemaker in me because I just passed out and almost died from a heart attack. I mean, the list goes on, but I'm surviving. But the only way I'm going to survive is I got to learn from the others. Right.
Right.
If I don't learn from the others, I'm not going to make it. Okay. And it's the same.
And eat right too.
Pardon?
And
gotta eat right.
Right.
Gotta eat right. This American diet is killing us.
That's right.
I'm telling you,
take your cod liver oil.
Yeah, I take the flax oil. I take flax oil. But I do take it. I do believe in the oils. The oils are very effective and they help with the digestive system. And the flax oil also seems to help with my heart, kind of because I don't want to I got that pacemaker now, so I don't want the plaque building up. But see, I'm going to learn that from other patients. I mean? The doctors, when I was done with this, my last cancer treatment, they actually patted me on the back and told me I could go out now and eat whatever I wanted to eat. And I said, no, sir, I don't think I'm going to be doing that.
That's right. That's the biggest mistake.
I got to change my life, and I got to change my life for the better. And that's only going to come through peer support. Those of us that have had the rug pulled out from underneath us and had to build ourselves back, we're going to be the ones that are going to help the others get back on their feet. It's not going to be, all these, I'm glad I went to school. I learned more by going to school about the other people that work in professions than I did about the academic stuff, actually. And I've tried to apply myself academically. But, you know, there was this group of people I was with in the degree programs and even in the graduate degree programs, and they just had a trajectory. You know, they went to high school and they got good grades, and they went to college and they got degrees, and now they're in their career path, and now they're moving up, and now they got the little home, and now they're making all appointment payments, and you know what I mean? But our lives weren't like that. Our lives, we kept falling down here and there and building ourselves back.
Right.
And the vast majority of people in America are much more similar to that than this other group that just had this constant trajectory. So, you know, we need to learn from the people that it didn't work for. You know, Hollywood makes all these stories about these superstars that just kind of like go on and they conquer whatever it is. And next thing you know, my God, they're running General Electric or something, and they're mentally ill. I don't know, like that Beautiful Mind deal, that Beautiful Mind movie, something like that. You know, but the vast majority of people aren't like that. You know, the vast majority of people are just struggling day to day. Like, how am I going to get through this? Or how am I going to do this? Or how am I not going to upset this person? Or how am I going to keep working when I'm so depressed and discouraged I don't want to continue to work? Things like that. And that's what peers can do. Peers can get people through those transitions. So we don't have.
Mo, we got to have you to come back and get on our team, because you're a wealth of information.
Yes, he is.
I'm not for everybody. I'm not for everybody.
Well, no, but we need. I mean, because it's like reading the medical log or peer to peer. I mean, so much information.
Well, I found out the hard way, right, Consuela? You know, I'm like the rest of us. We find out the ones that find out the hard way, Consuela, are the ones that seem to be the best people we need, and those are the ones we aren't listening to.
That's
those
right.
Are right.
You know, it all leads to the same thing.
Matt, you got any comments on what he's talking about, since you worked in the system? Where Matt was with the New Directions for years. That was on the campus of West LA. Hi, Matt, can you hear me?
Yes, I do.
Okay.
What I wanted to say is that this is the most fantastic presentation I've heard in a very long time.
Oh.
And I'm so thankful that Mo was able to come on the show.
Thank you.
And talk to our audience about what he's gone through and what he's going through and what he will overcome.
Right.
And I think it's a joy to have him on, and a good choice. Well done.
Thank you.
Mo.
We need your help, Mo, just like we need Roy. Matt and I are trying to make a difference. We're making a difference. Don't think we're trying. And we got Calvin, and of course Charles, and now we got, of course, Sean is going to show us how to do finances. And Roy, he knows all about what we're doing. But, you know, I really need your support. I'll share it with you. And so will Roy. He'll share it with you.
Anytime you want me, I'll be there for you. I'll give you as much as I can. I'm kind of weak. But the nice thing with Zoom is, you know, I do this and I go to sleep. I go take a nap, right?
That's right.
Because I got all that fatigue from the cancer treatments, right? So I'm good for a couple hours. I go take a nap. I wake up. I'm good for a couple hours.
You good for. Thank you for coming, my Facebook friend too. That was a surprise. Okay.
I can do this.
Oh, thank you so much. We got to move on a little bit now. Matt, you have something very important to share too.
But before we go, how do they reach Vet to Vet? If somebody wants to get in touch with you.
Oh, I would call Roy.
That's right, Roy. You gonna give us the information?
The information, because our listeners, you know, they talk about it. Hey, they talking about how do I get in touch with them?
Yeah,
that's
so
right.
I'd call Roy, and then Roy would do a referral over to the people that are doing that in the greater Los Angeles area.
Yeah, phone number, website.
Yeah, give us the web information and the phone number, Roy.
Okay. Well, I think you can go to
to
get in touch with me. My number is 323-671-6878.
Repeat it.
323-671-6878.
And the website?
You could do a referral. The website's Vet to Vet USA. Just people plugging Vet to Vet USA. With the number 2. Vet USA. So it's number 2. Number 2. But Roy, then you would do a referral to Deanna, probably, wouldn't you? You'd say,
okay. It would go. Well, if it's in this area, it would go to Deanna.
Right. Yeah, because they coming in from everywhere. I guess it's not just in LA.
No.
Right.
Where are you?
I'm in Connecticut, and I'll give you my number, but it's 2. But I just have to make sure I know who it is because I get so many of these spam calls now.
Yeah, isn't that terrible?
Yeah, whoever opened up these cell phones to spam calls just should.
Well, they can always, they can get in touch with you guys through Operation Confidence.
That's right.
Email. Info at operationconfidence.org.
That's another option too. That you guys know how to get in touch with me and get in touch with Roy, and I'll work with you. So Roy will.
Calvin, where are you guys? You're in the Michelle work. Where are you located?
I'm located in Memphis, Tennessee.
Oh, okay. We everywhere.
That's right.
All right.
Well, thank you so much, Matt. You have a very interesting, very needed subject you're going to talk about: veteran suicide. Really a hard.
In fact, it kind of ties in to what Mo was talking about, and this comes from the Secretary of Defense Lloyd Austin III. And he calls on service members to stop stigmatizing mental health help.
Okay.
After a briefing from leaders about the spike in suicides among service members in Alaska, Secretary of Defense Lloyd J. Austin III said today he's concerned about the number of suicides there and across the force. I'm deeply concerned about the suicide rates, not only here, but across the force, he said during a press conference at Eielson Air Force Base in Alaska. One loss by suicide is too many. While we're working hard on this problem, we have a lot more to do. Addressing the problem must start with reducing the stigma associated with seeking help for mental health issues, he said. Mental health is health, period, Austin said. The Secretary of Defense Department must approach this suicide issue with the same energy applied to any other health issue. Getting help to those suffering from mental health issues must be done with compassion and professionalism, not stigma. So if you're hurting, there are resources available, Austin said. And I know that our leaders here are committed to making those resources even more accessible and available. From day one in his tenure at the helm of the Department of Defense, Austin has said that his first priority is to defend the nation. But key to achieving it is taking care of our people, he said. One of my messages to the men and the women that I spoke with today is that we need to look out for one another. And I promised I would be looking out.
Oh, wow.
And that's an important message from an important individual that I wanted to share.
Yeah, it was. That's so great. Thank you so much. Well, we're going to move right. Go ahead. You have something to say, Roy?
No, I was just thanking Matt for that.
Yeah.
I think that we need that, and we need peers that have gone through that, the suicide thoughts that have made it through. And I think the VA, the professionals, as Matt was saying, sometimes stigmatize the veterans that are contemplating suicide. And they don't know that they're pushing that button to do that.
That's
and
right.
The VA needs some rules. And I had to go, that's a very good friend of mine, went and saw his PTSD doctor about he was suicide. And I talked to him that day. and wish I would have had him come back to my office after he saw his doctor, because he went home and hung himself in the garage that night.
Oh no.
And it really peed me off that
Oh
that
no.
he can see his doctor and go home that same night and kill himself. And I
Oh.
wish I could have known what the doctor said to him, but his brother told me that he needed somebody to talk to. He wanted to get in touch with me, but his brother said that he was busy, so they kind of wiped him to the side. And that night, he found him hanging in the garage. And
Oh boy.
unless we, like the Secretary of the VA said, unless we can train or teach people to talk to people and listen to people rather than giving them advice on how they should do things, talk to them in a regular conversation, I think, and at least hand them off to a peer that's gone through that can talk to him and knows the ins and outs. He can't save him per se, but he can help him lift the load by talking to somebody.
That's
And I
right.
think we need that not only in veteran civilization in this world, we need it in every situation.
Everybody.
Our communities need it.
That's
Yeah.
right. What were you saying, Matt? You were going to say something.
No, everybody said what needs to be said.
That's right. But that was some good information, and thank you so much, Roy, for your feedback.
Well,
Thank
That's
you.
so
Matt.
important. I'm so sorry to hear about your friend. That's terrible.
Yeah.
God bless him. How long ago was that?
Yeah.
Recently?
This was actually, if you can remember, of them saying that a plane had to be cut short that was coming from New York to California, but they had to land in Phoenix because of a guy going off on the plane. That was the same guy. I had to go to Phoenix. The VA wouldn't send anybody from here to Phoenix. So his family called me and I went to Phoenix, and actually that's how we met.
Wow.
And we stayed friends. Like, he came back with me. He'd go out and speak when we had veterans functions. And anytime he came to the VA to see his doctor, he'd stop by and see me first. And he talked, and he was supposed to be getting married. I think in a couple of months. And moving out he was going to tell his doctor he was moving out to Fontana. And I just hoped that his doctor didn't tell him that he couldn't do that and had to stay within the greater LA rather than switch over to another hospital. But it could have been anything, because he was sometimes he had some issues. And all weren't his. A lot of them came from his combat time in combat.
Right.
So,
that's what I hear a lot of. God bless him. Okay, take it away, that Charles. We're moving on to our next guest. That's Calvin. Can't see you, Calvin. Can't see that. Can't see that handsome face.
All right, let's talk about Mr. Calvin Poole here. Calvin is the past president of the Tennessee Regional Group of the Blinded Veteran Association, or the BVA. He is currently the Secretary-Treasurer for the Tennessee Region Group of the BVA and Regional BVA Ambassador. He is also the chairman of the BVA for the Golden Age Games. Calvin is co-founder and president of the executive board for the Tri-State Adaptive Sports Association, or TASA, T-A-S-A. The purpose of TASA is to help improve the quality of life for persons who are physically or mentally challenged through adaptive sports. TASA currently offers archery, bowling, gold ball, and tandem cycling. TASA can also provide many adventure sports on demand, such as cornhole, bocce, and beat ball, etc. You can contact them at 901-304-7440 or bva.org. That's 901-304-7440 or bva.org. Calvin's guest today is Paul Mims, Missouri Regional Group. Paul Mims, he's the Missouri Regional Group. He graduated in his 8th he graduated 8th in his class from the city's Central High School in 1963. Paul briefly attended Antioch College in Yellow Springs, Ohio, before induction into the U.S. Navy on May 16, 1966. He served shore duty on San Diego at the Naval Training Center at the Naval Electronics Lab Center. He was aboard the USS Luzerne County in the Mekong Delta. And an accident on the ship led to early onset of glaucoma, and he was medical discharged in 1969. Paul worked in the restaurant industry and in retail management before increasing blindness led to loss of employment in 1983. Following blind rehab training in Kansas City and his enrollment at the Central Blind Rehab Center, Paul returned to college in 1986 and earned a bachelor's degree in sociology at the University of Missouri, Kansas City, and a master's degree in social work in 1991 from the University of Kansas. He began working for the Department of VA in 1992 at the Kansas City Vet Center and later went on to work at the West Palm Beach BRC in 2000. In 2004, he was selected as a VIS coordinator at the West Palm Beach VA Medical Center. I don't know what the VIST means. That's what VIST coordinator, that is. He was active in the Florida regional group while working at West Palm Beach, serving as a district director within the group, vice president, and president. Paul retired in 2009 and returned to Kansas City, where he was almost immediately became involved in the rejuvenation of the Missouri regional group, where he was originally a charter member. Paul served as both secretary and president of the group until his election to national office in August 23rd, 2003. Take it away, Calvin and Mr. Paul Mims.
Thank you, Charles, and thanks American Invisible Heroes again for allowing us to have this opportunity to share our story. And as usual, I want to thank some of our members and partners, which includes Challenged Athlete Foundation, some of our other members, the Memphis City Youth Service Division, and some local areas in the state that supported us. And I met Paul several months ago, well, actually several years ago, through the Blind and Veteran Association. And he has truly can become a mentor for me. And I won't eat any more of the time. I want Paul to take this opportunity to let you all meet Paul and see how great of a guy he really is. And you can take it away, Paul. Thank you.
Well, Calvin, thank you. And sometimes you're much too kind, but thank you for that introduction and that buildup. So now I got to see what I can do with that. I will say, first of all, thank you for your service to all of the veterans on this line. And I see that I'm joined by a lot of Vietnam veterans, you know, in the audience and among the presenters. And so we all know, first of all, we were winning when we left and we all did our jobs. But a lot of us came back totally messed up from that experience. And we taught, if not this country, we taught the world the extent of what was virtually unknown in the term trauma. And we let people and help people learn how far trauma really digs into your life and how much it takes out of your life. And so the first part of my career at the VA was working in the vet center in Kansas City, Missouri. And for those of you that aren't familiar with the vet center, it's something that VA started up under another division called Readjustment Counseling Services. And it was a peer counseling program designed to help veterans readjust from their participation in Vietnam and adjusting back to what we'll call civilization, although it's, you know, civilian life. And once that program was established, I think they grew to like 206 vet centers. So I think they've got more vet centers than they do VA medical centers. And I got to say, that was one of the more enriching experiences in my life. Only one of them, of course, but it's certainly one of them. You know, I met veterans, and, you know, one of the things I did in that was work as a counselor. And most of you can imagine being a counselor is different when you're blind and you can't see the body languages and the facial expressions. But I think I did all right, because, you know, there's a lot in your voice that gives you away as far as how you're feeling. For those of us, you know, to those of us that are blind. So I guess you understood that during my shipboard accident, I actually eventually lost all of my vision. So I am now totally blind, but it's one of those things that happen. And, you know, you might consider a disability. I'm not going to say like the NFB does, that it's an inconvenience, but it's what happened. And so what I have to do is put what happened behind me, and what's ahead of me is what can I do with it, because of it, and in spite of it, you know. And my aim is helping other veterans. And I've been doing that for over 35 years. I've been a member of the BVA since 1986. So I think that puts me at 37 years almost now. And as Calvin said, I ascended to, well, I don't think he told you that, but I am now the vice president of the board of directors. And along my pathway to where I am, one of the things I did was find a need for peer support at different levels within the level that was delivering peer support. And that was the subgroups. So I had a fairly large hand in establishing BVA's women veterans group, but even more of a hand in founding our blind veteran dog handlers special interest group, which is now the Blind Veteran Dog Handlers Committee. In 1989, I decided, I decided in 88 that I wanted to have a guide dog. A friend of mine said, here, grab his harness, okay, and just tell him forward, and he did. And I said, oh yeah, this is for me. And so,
what type of dog do you have?
I have a black Labrador male. Oh. His name is Shadow.
All right. That's your best friend, huh?
Yeah, he doesn't ask to borrow money. He doesn't wear my clothes. And the only thing I have to worry about is he will eat my food.
he will eat your food.
Oh, he'll eat anybody's food. If it can't run away and it fits in his mouth, it's in jeopardy. But,
wow. Hey, Paul, could you explain also what this acronym stands for?
Yeah.
So Charles understands.
VIST is Visual Impairment Services Team Coordinator. This coordinator is Visual Impairment Services Team. Okay. And I was honored to serve in that position at West Palm Beach VA. So basically what the VIST coordinator is pretty much the gatekeeper of services to blind veterans at a particular VA medical center.
So great. And you have something to do with Michonne Harris also with the, you trained her, right?
Well, I'm still working on that. It's a big job.
It's a big job.
But what happened was, as I, moved back into my position as vice president last June, I was actually appointed when another vice president resigned. And that was my at least second, if not third shot at vice president. But in trying to build the organization, I needed to reinvent myself by mentoring someone who would come behind me. and be my successor. And after meeting Mashan and gauging her passion for what she can do as well as what she does, I asked her about becoming chair of the Blind Veteran Dog Handlers Committee, and I would just be her backup or co-chair. And so now she's starting to grow. And so, I'm, helping her find the knots on the rope so she can climb.
She's amazing too.
Yeah.
Yes, she is. Oh, she is.
She's one of our team members.
and so
yeah, she's truly Armstrong.
Yeah.
Yes, she is.
And of course you found out, like Calvin, I was a swab jockey, Navy. And I guess beyond that, I understand a lot of you are, well, if you're not blind, you're not going to have a chance to be a guide dog user. Although some of you who are dealing with PTS or post-traumatic stress, they are training dogs now to help ameliorate the effects on one who has PTS, post-traumatic stress.
Right.
And so that's a very interesting category of dogs, somewhat controversial still, but it's real. The bell's been rung. It's not going to get unrung for quite a while if it ever does.
Right.
So those of us that have guide dogs and have other service dogs, we're having to learn a little bit something different in order to incorporate PTSD dogs and the way they do their job into our community of, dog handlers with different abilities. Right. So anyway,
you have some pictures, Charles. Did you have some pictures?
I'm looking for the pictures.
But Charles, you sent them to him earlier in the week, didn't you?
Yes, I did.
It may be under her.
If you can't see the pictures, I'm tall, dark, and handsome, and so is my dog. And
Michelle can send them to him again.
Yeah, because what happens is I get stuff in different people's names that's coming from somewhere, and it's kind of hard to keep track of it. And I'm sorry to,
That's okay. While you're looking for those, I will say that prior to establishing BVA's Blind Veteran Dog Handlers Group, I also served on the board of directors of Guide Dog Users Incorporated, which is an affiliate of the American Council of the Blind. And I served on their director. I've also been president of Missouri Guide Dog Users, which is an affiliate of the ACB chapter in Missouri. And so I've done that. So a lot of what I've done is, you could say it's related to guide dogs, but a lot more of what I've done is just related to veterans. When I served in Florida, while I was a VIST coordinator, I was, a district director in the state of Florida, as well as the vice president and president, as Calvin mentioned, or I guess whoever mentioned. But anyway, I left there, came back to Kansas City, and I got involved, and then I got invited, to run for the board of directors. And I'd like to say the rest is history, but it's not. Mm-hmm. Our upcoming convention in August of this year, August the 13th through the 18th, it's very likely I will ascend to the office of president.
Whoa, that's one. Where does that take place? The conference?
St. Louis, Missouri.
Okay.
I live in Kansas City, Missouri, so I'm actually going to be able to celebrate, that ascension, if you will, in my home state, with my home state peeps, not my hometown peeps.
Oh, that's so cool. Congratulations.
Thank you. And Mashan hates to hear me tell this, but, my hometown peeps will be celebrating next Sunday when Hopefully the Chiefs win the Super Bowl.
Oh, that's cute. Well, you guys are very busy, and some of your activities that blind veterans of America tends to do as well. I mean, what are some of the things you all have done? I know that Calvin was, what was you doing? Kayaking, Calvin?
Yeah, kayaking. We did a triathlon in October in that San Diego and did some equine therapy programs. So we stay pretty busy. The BVA does have an adaptive sport component called Team VBA. You want to expound on that?
Sure. Team BVA, it used to be called Operation Peer Support. We named it Team BVA because we want BVA to be a team. We want it to be, literally blind veterans helping blind veterans. And so along that lines, as opposed to focusing on younger veterans, we're working on veterans that are as old as me, as well as veterans that are, even as young as Calvin or Michon and younger. So it's the whole scope of our blind veteran population are eligible to participate in events. We do skiing in Colorado at Steamboat Springs, as well as that. I think it was just before COVID, we had a group of veterans who did a walk equal to a marathon.
Yeah,
across
the
New
Appalachian
Mexico.
Trail, yeah.
Yeah, no, I'm talking about the one they did in New Mexico.
Oh, okay, yeah.
And of course, we have veterans that have walked along the Appalachian Trail, and not all of those veterans are male veterans. We have female veterans.
Wow.
That have walked part of the Appalachian Trail. And, as I look at my goals in the past, it was to try to engage our membership more and empower them to become who they are and who they can be, and get away from that focus of, I'm not
stereotype,
and I can't and leave that behind and move forward and to I am and I can and I will.
Right.
And so I have people like Calvin working beside me.
There you go.
As well as Michon, and they are both shining examples of how going forward.
We're looking at your pictures now with your dog. What's the dog's name again? Shadow?
You passed your test.
Huh?
You passed your test. Most people think Midnight, Charcoal. No, it's Shadow.
Well, I know Shadow too. My cousin's dog just passed about a month and a half ago, and his name was Shadow. So he was black.
Well, there's
just
been
like
two
your
dogs
dog.
named Shadow at least.
Mm-hmm.
Yours was a black dog.
Yeah, hers was black, just like your dog. It's Shadow.
Yeah.
He's about 15 years old too. So.
Well, if you look at the naming, there are no naming conventions, and people come up with the names for the dogs.
Oh yes.
Actually, when they're first born, and they're identified in the litter, and they actually have a tattoo in their ear. The dogs that go through the training program, and so that tattoo identifies the dog. And because of that, they can look up the record and know what that dog's name is. So which one's named Candy and which one's named, Muffy and which one's named Fido. And I did have a dog named Fido, by the way. he was a yellow lab male.
Fido.
Okay. And so anyway, I want to ask if anybody has any questions about guide and service dogs, because I know probably nobody else on here has a guide or service dog except maybe Michon.
No. I want a little bitty itty support dog, the little itty bitty one, cute, that I can put in my purse.
Oh, you want one of those mini chihuahuas?
Yeah, a little something
Okay,
cute.
let's talk about that. Let's talk about that. Okay, you want a little bitty mini chihuahua.
Not
or,
necessarily Chihuahua, but I like a Maltese.
Half a Yorkie or something. But
no butt.
Let's talk about why you want to have that dog.
Because I want something little and cute. I don't want no big dog. I'm not that big.
But if you put it in your purse,
yeah.
Okay, it implies that you want to take
dog
it
gonna
with
be
you
like,
everywhere
because you know, dog gonna be like, wait a minute, there's too much stuff in here, you know.
Yeah, he's gonna eat your chapstick and
open that purse up. The dog gonna be the, you know, like, man, what happened? A tornado happened up in here?
I want me a sweet little baby dog. I don't care what y'all say.
Well, here's one of the issues that those of us that are guide dog and service dog handlers confront, not necessarily on a daily basis, but quite often. And that's that people have dogs and they're pets, but they want to pass them off as service dogs.
Mm-hmm.
And so they can get on the internet and, yeah, there's my dog. They can get on the internet and then they want to order a vest that says, I'm a service dog. Okay. And they want to get a letter from somebody that says, this person is in need of a service dog to help with their disability. And while that letter may be true, it doesn't mean that the dog they have is qualified because it hasn't been trained. Mm-hmm. So you look at dogs that are, if you go to the VA, they're jumping up and down off of the furniture. They're barking and growling at people walking by and nipping and barking at people walking by. Okay, those are not service dogs. I guarantee you.
It's the wrong kind of service.
Service dogs, whether they're guide dogs or other service dogs, they're trained to behave in public and to, if allowed, kind of blend into the situation and not be ostentatious or attention getting. So it's rare that you're going to have a service dog or guide dog bark.
Well, we're going to have you to come back and share some more information with us. We do have other guests still in the waiting room, but I want to thank you so much. You gave us
you're welcome.
Great information, and don't let this be your last time either.
If you invite me again and I can get it in my schedule, I'll be here. And
come on with Calvin.
This time Sunday, I can do it.
Hey, Consuelo, I got one question for him before he leaves. Hey, Paul, I'm often asked this question concerning service dog. Is there ever going to be a point where we have a tax service dog that can act as a security dog and a service dog?
No, because that's a disservice to you. The dog is trained to be able to navigate and integrate into the human community.
Right.
Okay. So we as handlers want our dogs to be accepted in that community. And so, the first time a dog attacks somebody, all that goes away for a while.
Okay.
What about protecting you, though, from the boogeyman type person?
No, I'm afraid I got to protect myself. He's not trained for that.
He'd be headed for the hills for you,
Yeah, so he'll walk up to you and lift your hand, but he's not going to bite you.
Okay.
They be like, you ain't moving fast enough. I'm gone, It's like,
especially if a Big Mac falls out of your sack. But thanks so much. Thanks to all of you for having me here and letting me speak. And I'm more than glad to come back again and give you more information.
Michonne, you want to say a couple of words before we pass it on over to Mr. Brown?
I was going to say thank you for having me again, and thank you for Paul for being my mentor and Calvin as well.
Yeah, they're very good. Calvin, we know he's amazing.
Come on here so she can get her laugh on now, huh?
No, she's a sweetheart. She's always on with us.
I know. Michonne be over there cracking up.
I'm about to turn my camera off.
that crazy Charles, huh?
It's some funny stuff. We have to put a little humor in it.
Mm-hmm.
Come on,
Yeah, we do.
We're going to turn it over to Charles. You're going to introduce Sean Brown.
Sean Brown. He's Sean Brown, the branch manager at AMRES Mortgage Service Company. Sean says, whether you're buying, selling, refinancing, or building your dream home, you have a lot riding on your loan specialist. Since market conditions or mortgage programs change frequently, you need to make sure you're dealing with a top professional who can give you quick and accurate financial advice. As an experienced loan officer, I have the knowledge and expertise you need to explore the many financial options available, he says. About AMRES, founded with a vision to build a company around the customer. Over time, how do you say that, Sean? AMRES?
Correct, AMRES.
AMRES joined by like-minded loan officers and operations professionals, and now span the continental U.S. AMRES does business in all corners of the country with everyone from first-time buyers to seasoned investment professionals. Today, Sean will discuss the difference between a HELOC and a fixed second.
Thank you so much, Charles.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you so much. You know, I was going to talk about that with the fixed second and the home equity, but when I got on the call and you guys did the intro and just started talking about the particular month that we're in, I wanted to talk about family legacies, how to hold on to property. Okay. Just a quick note. I've been in the mortgage business for over 20 years. During that time, I've realized that I am in the financial services business, and I went ahead and have actually gotten into the financial services. So I'm also a branch manager, like Charles said, for AMRES Corporation. My office is downtown LA, but I'm also a financial advisor with Mass Mutual. And so the reason why I got into the financial services side is because I wanted to make sure that people hold on to their properties, right? The buzzwords going around now is generational wealth and keeping a family legacy. And it goes beyond just buying the house. There's certain things that need to go into place to do that. But what I wanted to talk about today is I wanted to talk about how the military, since this is a veteran show, I wanted to talk about how the military has assisted in home ownership throughout the African-American community for the founding of the country. So, right, so in the very, very beginning, well, the reason why I wanted to bring that up is because everyone loves, the American dream is to have land, but we have to hold on to the land and you have to be able to pass the land down. That's how the actual wealth is created throughout, generationally, right? You may be able to purchase a property or what have you, but how are you able to help your grandkids or your kids and those types of things? So those are the types of things I want to talk about very quickly today, but I also wanted to talk about the military because this is a military show, right? So we can go back into history, and I would probably say the first participation of military and African Americans would be the, General Sherman with the 40 acres and a mule, right? So we had our Civil War and we were promised some land. Then that land was taken away, all right? So there was no generational wealth to go past in that time. Then we had, I wanted to also talk about the Tulsa. A lot of people talk about Tulsa. I don't think a lot of people know that the story of when they arrested the young man in Tulsa, a lot of the quote unquote unrest or what sparked a lot of that was because of our Black military men. What happened was they arrested the young man, and the Tulsa obviously was its own community, or Greenwood, and the individuals from Greenwood that came, what they did is they came to the courthouse, the military, not the military, but these were probably World War I veterans at the time, because this is in the 1920s. So ex-World War I veterans marched over to this police station, right? And, started this thing. A lot also wanted to talk about with the Tulsa thing is that what's not told is that when Tulsa was created, Oklahoma was not a state. Oklahoma was just a territory, okay? So individuals were able to go over there and create land without all of this kind of stuff. Then once it became a state, that's when you had all this racial tension. But I just wanted to bring in the point that the Black military men, well, ex-military men, were the ones who actually went over there to protect this young man during this time. So what I'm just trying to bring on is how the military or the African Americans in the military have helped establish this country. And we just wanted to talk also about passing down generational wealth, because as we all know, Greenwood was burned down, and there was no generational wealth able to be passed down with all that land, right? And then there were hotels and everything, banks and everything at that. I mean, well, insurance companies.
That was the Black Wall Street, right?
Right. So there was a lot going on there. None of that they actually owned this property. They actually owned this land. None of this land was able to be passed down, right? So there was no generational wealth there. There was also a gentleman here in California. I'm not sure if maybe we're all over the place. So in California, there was a settlement established by a chaplain by the name of Colonel Allensworth. And he started up a city, for the most part, the first African-American run established city in California, and he was a military man, okay?
Where is that?
He was a colonel, excuse me?
Where is his city?
It's in I forget this. The name of the city is called Allensworth, but it's in like northern central California.
Yeah, okay, I heard of that. I thought it was, when you say LA, I thought it was right in the city of
No. It's like central California.
Yeah.
And what happened with that? The place is still there. It's still called Allensworth. That community was established. It was on a train route, right? So the train stopped at Allensworth, and that's what allowed the town to flourish. We can get into politics on that. The train somehow didn't stop stopping at Allensworth, right? And so the town kind of dwindled into nothing. But my point is that it was established by a military chaplain in 1908, okay? So 1908, so he was probably a Civil War veteran, right? So I just want to bring on some of the contributions that the military and the African Americans have done. And now I want to talk about how we can hold on to some of these things. There was this great movie. I'm sure I might be the baby in this group here, but there's a great movie called Sounder that was made in 1975. And Sounder is just an amazing movie. There's so many things to talk about that movie, but Sounder was Sounder is a dog, but the movie is about a family who were sharecroppers in Louisiana. I'm sorry, they were sharecroppers in 1930 Louisiana, and I don't think everyone actually understands what sharecroppers were. But they were, for the most part, individuals who were farmers, right? Who grew up on the land, and they wanted to have their own land eventually. For the majority of those people, it never happened, right? They just kept going into debt, because there was no actual education behind that. And that's some of the stuff that I was talking about. So we can go through all these examples that I mentioned. Besides maybe Tulsa, none of those, nobody was actually educated on how to pass this thing down, right? I was watching this show called Finding Your Roots. I love this show. It's on PBS. I recommend everybody watch it. But Viola Davis was actually born on a plantation in South Carolina, which obviously she's here right now. So if she was born on a plantation, obviously her family were sharecroppers, right? And so that sharecropping thing is not anything that could be that. I mean, Viola Davis is on movies right now. She was born on a plantation, you know what I mean? So this is not anything that's like hundreds of years old or any of that kind of stuff. This stuff, you know, I'm just trying to bring it into the 21st century here. And so what was happening a lot of times during these times is we were told to, if you were lucky, if you were even that lucky, you were told to get a will, right? Somebody would tell you, or somebody would say, well, you should at least have a will. Or if you had a will, you thought that was the best thing to happen. You have a will. What happens when you have a will does not necessarily pass down the legacy. What the will does is, what happens is, and now we're going to get into the real estate part, when you purchase a property, whoever purchases the property, you and your husband, or you and your spouse, or what have you, you guys, or just you by yourself, right? So you buy a house by yourself, and you are on the loan, and then what happens is they put your name on the trust, or on the deed of the property as the owner of the property. Now, once you pass, there is absolutely nobody who owns that property, right? So God willing, you at least have a will. What happens is when nobody owns the property, somebody has to take that property over. It just can't sit around. I mean, again, America is built off of property and property taxes. That's how everything's done, right? And so when that person removes themselves or passes, now nobody owns that house. So the city or the counties, depending on the parish or whatever, wherever you are, take over that property. And when they take over that property, it then goes to the court system. Now, we all know, as African Americans, the court system is not necessarily our best friend here, right? So we go to court, and then the judge, hopefully, again, God willing, you have a will. The judge will then read the will, and the will may say, give it to my daughter, or whatever the case may be, right? But the daughter now still has to, now that it's in the court system, you now have to pay these people. They're not doing this stuff for free. The judge is not reading your will for free. So you have to pay the lawyer. You have to pay the court system. That could be thousands of dollars. In California, just to give you some real numbers here, in Los Angeles, I'm in Los Angeles, it runs roughly, it could be a lot more, roughly $20,000 to get your house out of probate. Okay. Now, homes in California, we're not in Louisiana where the house is worth $50,000, or these houses are worth $1 million, $500,000. So $20,000 may not sound like that much, but it's still money that you're spending to get the house, to get your own house back, or whatever, right? So we want to avoid those types of things. We shouldn't even know what the word probate means. Like, I could walk into a room with people and say probate, and everybody knows what that means. That's not how it's supposed to work. How it's supposed to work is you should have what's called a living trust, okay? Now, a living trust is not given to you by a lender, right? All we do is we do the loan, and we record the transaction. That's where the financial advisor for myself has to come on, and we have to advise individuals of what a living trust is and how it's designed and how it's used to pass down wealth. So how a trust works is when you purchase a home, you would want to immediately, and I mean immediately, because you never know what could happen, you would want to immediately purchase a trust. Whether it's a very, very basic trust or not, you want to establish a living trust. And what that does is it then now allows you to pass it down. So how does that work? Well, when you have the living trust, the trust is not a person, right? So when you go onto the trust, well, first of all, the trusts are typically, you want to get your trust by a law firm, number one. You want to have it by a law firm. You ever watch these movies, these quote unquote rich people or what have you, and somebody passes and everybody goes into this law firm and the lawyer's sitting behind the desk and then he's telling everybody what's going on. That's because the person has a trust, right? And the lawyer is now reading the will, okay? Reading the will from the trust, okay, to explain who they want to have this furniture, or this car, or whatever the case may be. This is how we pass down generational wealth. You have to get a living trust and put it on your property if you own property. Now, a trust does not only have to be for property. I'm specifically talking about property, but you can put your pension in your trust. You can put your life in anything that pertains to money or anything you want, you can put into the trust, right? Because what happens is, if you have a 401k or if you have a life insurance policy and these types of things, if you pass, the life insurance policy is not running around saying, hey, Mr. Smith had a life insurance policy, everybody call us over here. If you don't call them, it just, it's just, so you want to put these types of things in the trust so that the lawyer can then do all these things for you. Oh, Mr. Smith has a life insurance policy. Okay, the life insurance policy is supposed to go to the daughter, right? And so all these things is how you can effectively pass down generational wealth. So I don't want to go too far over time or anything like that.
That was good education, though. I mean, we learned something.
Yeah, I wanted to
give us part two.
I wanted to press upon the military and how important the military has been for us as a people throughout history, as far as getting land and everything, and sometimes well, not the military, the federal government, but I also want to talk about, once you get the property, how you have to keep it. And the only way to keep that property, truly keep it the correct way, is to get a living trust.
And we don't go to probate when it's in a living trust, right? Is what you're saying.
I'm sorry, let me hear you.
We don't go to probate if it's in a living trust, is what
correct. And the reason why you don't go to probate is because the trust is not a person. The trust is like a company, right? So you create this trust and then you say, well, I'm the president of the trust, my wife is the vice president, and my kids are the secretary, right? So if the president dies in the company, well, the vice president just goes up to the thing. Nothing actually happens. The vice president just becomes the president, right? And then if you have your kids as the secretaries and everything, so everything stays within the family. It's not going to court because the trust is regulating what's going on. And exactly.
Thank you. That is very helpful.
Yeah, it is. Great information. That's that, what you call yourself, the loan coach.
Loan coach.
That's right. You got all that good information. Thank you so much.
That was very good.
We're starting to wind down. Charles, you're going to tell us something about camping. Tell us more about that. And we lost a friend of ours, one of our team members from it.
Yep, Camp Lejeune. Everybody's hearing all of the different, I'm sure you hear all that stuff on the news, the radio. Anyway, in 1941, Camp Lejeune's mission was to prepare warfighters for deployment for combat and humanitarian missions abroad. The base, which encompasses 236 square miles, provides housing, facilities, training, lands, and logistical support for warfighters. Camp Lejeune operates multiple drinking water systems that serve various parts of the base. The conceptual water system model provides an illustration of a representative water supply system at Camp Lejeune. Water supply wells pump water from deep underground and deliver it to a water treatment plant. The wells are cycled, meaning not all the wells are pumping water to the treatment plant at the same time. In the 1980s, some of the wells that supply water to the Tarara Terrace had knot point and Holcomb Boulevard systems were found to affected by chemicals. We do not know if past exposure to these chemicals in Camp Lejeune's drinking water caused adverse health effects in special individuals. In 1982, special tap water testing identified, I'm just going to call it TCE and PCE. It's too long with triclo something, thiamethylene and tetrachloroethylene, TCE and PCE, that's what we're going to call it. The test results varied between drinking water samples collected at different times. In 1984 and 85, when base officials discovered that these chemicals were in specific drinking water supply wells, these affected wells were taken out of service. One of the wells removed from service at Tarara Terrace was used on 1 day in May 1985 and on 3 days in April 1985 due to a water shortage. The chemicals detected in the drinking water were a class of chemicals known as volatile organic compounds, or VOCs. These chemicals are commonly used as solvents for cleaning machinery and weapons, for dry cleaning, and are found in fuels. The chemicals were later identified as coming in from both on-base sources and off-base sources. Dawood Akil, a USMC current service connection, was 90%, but had been fighting to have his connection increased to 100% due to his cancer diagnosis by drinking the water. He was diagnosed with stage 4 cancer of the gallbladder, bile duct, and liver in 2020. His rare diagnosis of gallbladder cancer were related to Camp Lejeune and well documented as a diagnosis that many Marines have been inflicted with. He submitted with an outside agency to receive an increase due to these diagnoses. His claim was denied, but he continued to fight and was later denied because he couldn't prove it happened at Camp Lejeune in 1983. Keep in mind that the Marines didn't gain knowledge until the 2000s, and they put out a flyer for all Marines to be aware of this issue. To date, he was denied twice. One of our team members, Dawood Akil, 58, with a wife and family, passed away due to drinking water at Camp Lejeune. He had enlisted in the United States Marine Corps in 1981 and passed away on Tuesday, November 22nd, 2022. Rest in peace, Dawood. Now, I remember this guy very well. It was...
He was one of our team members.
Yes, he was.
He came on and talked about, how it affected him. He was a heavy guy at one point, and by the time he got to us, like, 120 pounds or something.
Yeah, he was, because he was talked about that. And he, I remember him talking about all of his kids were going to go to college. He had all, and he was, and that was his thing. He was a financial guy. He talked about that a lot. Let me see. I have his pictures, right?
We just wanted to acknowledge him and let our viewers see what a great guy he was.
Yes,
we heard about it.
Yeah, it was it's sad, because you hear these stories all of the time. Mm-hmm. It's just like all of the time, were you at Camp Lejeune? I hear it. You turn on the radio, TV. They're talking about it. But
you don't have his picture.
I got it somewhere. I get all.
Did he work? Did he ever work at King Drew?
Your speaker kind of cracked up. What'd you say?
I was asking if you all knew whether he worked at King Drew at one time or another.
I don't know.
Over in White.
Mm-hmm.
Say that I have his picture. I'm gonna email it to myself and then I'm gonna show you. Oh yeah, I can't say I don't know. It's a good question, but I know he was. I remember him well. He says all my kids are going to go to college. It's already paid for. When you talk about like being financially responsible, that's the same guy, right, Connie?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. He says,
great guy.
And he says, I think he said, he's like, I used to be a big guy and now I'm, and he talked about his weight and everything.
Yeah, real little.
Yeah,
we can't hold up the show. I just want you to show his picture, but
I'll show you his pictures. Just give me a, give me a minute. I got all kinds of stuff. I'm over here. It's like I got moving parts going. There's 3 different things happening. You guys just don't know.
Well, you're supposed to have them organized. I tell you that.
I did. But my computer went into. I have a drive that's going weird, and so yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I'm. On top of that, I ordered food that was supposed to be here an hour long before I got to the show. The food came while we were going, and then half of the food is missing. So,
what do you mean it's missing? You got a dog in there, or they didn't deliver it?
Oh, they didn't deliver it. It's like, so that's why I'm like, I'm over here like, man, now my order's wrong. I got to call them, and so I'm over here having my food, Camp Lejeune with food, not water. It's like, so that's crazy. So give me a second. I want to show you guys these pictures because this guy was he was sharp. I remember him very well. Let's see here. Give me one. Just give me and talk about something else.
Charles, what about the Montford Marines? I wonder how many African Americans died who were Montford Marines, because it was officially, Camp Montford Point was officially disbanded in 1947, but the Marine Corps was still segregated when I came into the Marine Corps in 1963.
Montford Marines?
They're still going strong.
The Montford Marines?
Mm-hmm. Actually, yes. We had a couple of events and they were highly represented.
That would be good because, the Marine Corps was always a very segregated unit. So Montford Point was where African Americans were trained because they were seen as not good enough to be part of the white units. And so I would, because if we're dealing with water, generally, I don't know, it seems like, I don't know what you guys feel, but man, if white people are drinking bad water, black folks are drinking water that's 10 times worse. So I'm just, that's just the Moe Armstrong rule out there. But
no, it's true though. That's so sad. But it's
I'm
true.
just sharing with you that's what I notice as I go through life. So and we talk. I keep hearing all those ads like you're talking about on the Camp Lejeune water, but I never heard anything mentioned about Montford. And yet Montford Point was, I've forgotten how many thousands of African Americans went through training at Montford Point. So,
there's probably more than Montford Point. It's probably more. Like you say, there's Montford, and then there's, who knows whatever else. Because they don't tell you a lot of things. You find out when it's too late or it's, it's like, we forgot to tell you, it's almost like buying a car with no motor. Oh, we forgot to tell you, you signed up and now that you've signed the papers, the car is yours, but we didn't tell you, look in the bottom line, it says, if you don't start it right now, it doesn't work, and it's like, you can push it like the Flintstones. So, I mean, you know, a lot of stuff happens that way. I mean, that might not be.
I want to kind of find out about that because that's a good point, you know, and, you know, and remember, Roy, we met that guy that, remember his fiance that we met. Remember the fellow from San Francisco that you and I met, and his fiance that we met at that restaurant in Los Angeles, and her father had been a Montford Marine. So, you know,
that's yeah. So here's the fella. You know, he was I remember him very well. You know, about the whole financial thing. You know, you know, when you talk about that, Sean, he was you know, he preached on it, and you know, just the way he was talking, you kind of knew his time was you know, very short. You know, because he talked about how much weight he had lost and all of that. So that's you know,
yeah, that's pretty sad.
Yeah, it's you know, it's a sad thing. It's unfortunate.
Well, we have First Sergeant Jack McDowell as our keynote speaker, Mo, from the Montford Marines, and he was like 90-something, very articulate, very smart guy. You know, he wouldn't know that he was in his 90s, but he was one of them. And then they literally show pictures when they go to the concerts, the conferences, and I think they built some type of a huge monument. I don't know what state it was in, but they're still going pretty strong, the ones that are still here. Very proudly. We're going to see if we can get them on the show, or at least be able to get some information about them.
Well, I think they stopped the, I understand what you said, Mo, but they actually integrated the military in the 50s and during the Korean War. Maybe your thing wasn't integrated.
No, mine was about, yeah, I would say.
Technically, the military did get integrated during the Korean War.
Yeah.
And so the Montford Report stopped in the late 40s.
Yeah, it stopped about 49, 47, something like that.
Right, so that wouldn't have counted that Camp Lejeune stuff.
So, yeah, but that was Montford Point was just next to Camp Lejeune, so they were probably drinking the same water. That's my point, you see. And so that, you know, you never hear about that. You know,
maybe they're just including it all as one as Camp Lejeune.
Maybe.
You know, and then you know that could be just another way to not inform some people.
Yeah.
You know, because you know, when it comes to the military, I've learned that you know there's certain things that they just don't tell you. You know, and it's not necessarily because they're trying not to. It's just that they don't have the infrastructure to do it, you know, because, you know, they don't, you know, it's not well thought out, you know, a lot of things I've you know.
Okay, I'll let you know. I was going to the doctor and I talked to a doctor over West LA and I asked him about it and he told me that their instructions, especially those that's coming over to do their doctorate and their fellows work, they're told when they get there that not to put anything in the veteran's record that may show or help them to get benefits. But he told me he can't tell anybody that. But
I know that to be true. That's not breaking news for, you know, because I found that out a long time ago.
Yeah, hey, that's bad though.
It is, you know, so.
Yeah, really
given what we're talking about as far as segregated units, are any of the Tuskegee Airmen still alive? Do you know?
Yeah.
They're still alive. And we have one of the Tuskegee, I forgot his name, please forgive me. He just recently passed away, but he was one of our speakers as well. He was almost 100 years old, but very, very.
Right. I know.
Okay, Charles, come on, we're going to wind it down now. You got a few comments, and then we're going to say thank you to everybody.
I'm going to show you a little, you know, last weekend I was at the aquarium up at the Pacific, you know, with my band, and you know, it went from we usually do a Saturday Sunday thing, and so on Friday.
What was the name of the event?
event was the Festival of Human Abilities. So it's generally a lot of disabled people come through, a lot of disabled talent, and then some of them like organizations send their people out with arts and crafts, and it's a lot of good stuff. I mean, it hasn't been the same since COVID, but it was probably a third of the, a lot of people say, oh, it's a lot of people here. Well, it's probably a third of the crowd that wasn't there since from pre-COVID. But we did our thing, and so I got a call on Friday saying, "Oh, the Channel 5 News wants to come in and do an early segment, and they want you to play." Because I said, "Okay," So we did that, and at 8:00, well, they're supposed to do it at 9:10, and about so we got there about 8 to try to set up, and we were just going to do just a little 5-minute segment. We did that. And so at 8:30 they did a teaser or whatever, and then I started getting text messages from people. Hey, I saw you on the news at like before 9, and I'm like, what? So some friends of mine, a friend of mine, she tried to videotape the TV part of it. I'm gonna show it to you anyway. But her daughter was messing with her, so it was like she's moving. Sophia, stop! So I tried to.
You couldn't get a copy from the station?
No, it's like you're trying to find, that was like trying to find weapons of mass destruction. It's just it's not always as easy as that. But I'm gonna show you that, and then I'll show you a clip of one of where we just played in. It's a little movie, and it's kind of blurry, but it's like, hey, you know what? It's something, because last time Connie put me on the spot. You ain't got no pictures of you in the band. I'm like, hey, because Miss Shawn was cracking up. She was having.
Well, you back on the spot because we still waiting and you still talking.
Oh, see, I got to, So anyway, here's this.
These things ready.
I do.
You can be part of the Festival of Human Abilities. The festival itself is free with admission, but of course, you have to make a reservation. But as we leave you here, though, I'll walk over. We can see Please. Say with some really great music. Take it away, gentlemen. Andy, I'm trying to recognize you. You can be part of the Festival of Human Abilities.
So anyway, that's that.
Cool.
So
and look, covers there.
Yeah, and then I'm gonna show you one more, and then I'm gonna call it a day.
She didn't know what to do, just in case you know her. Maybe you can show her and let her know life around her doesn't have to be so cold. Oh Lord, someone needs to tell her a thing or two to help her. Then maybe one day the love she never known will be no more. He didn't know. See, she didn't know what to do. He didn't know how not to cheat, and she didn't know who gave her the blues. He didn't know when to hold on. She didn't know when to let go.
All right, but anyway, that's
that
a little sample.
Congratulations.
Yeah, it was great.
Thank you. And of course, we write our own music, so we don't play covers.
Charles is kind of modest, but I'd like to give him a little shout out that he's not only on our board, but he's on the board of Paralyzed Veterans of America. He works for like over 20 years for Rancho Los Amigos Hospital. He owns his own trucking company, and what else, Charles?
Just do a little music. I have a
Yeah,
band.
he got his own band. I mean, he's a very active individual.
I teach
physical disability.
I teach songwriting through our wellness center at work, and it's very informal. So it's people are disabled, so
And you're a commissioner.
I'm a commissioner here in Long. Why are we doing this again?
Because it goes all over the world. You have to tell people. You don't have to just. It doesn't go to one source.
But it's like
They didn't know it.
Huh?
This guest didn't know it.
I know. I'm just but I'm a commissioner in Long Beach.
Disability rights is wonderful. I was on the Commission for People with Disabilities in Albuquerque and the Commission for People with Disabilities in Cambridge, Massachusetts, and I was on the President's Employment for People with Disabilities under Bill Clinton. So whatever you do for cross disabilities is very important.
It is.
And we need to be learning. Most of the stuff I learned in Vet to Vet came from me going to Gallaudet University and learning how people who are deaf taught other people to live with deafness. And I said the same could be done for those of us who have psychiatric conditions also. So I think the more that we have cross disability issues and we learn from each other, the better it is. Yes.
Before Operation Confidence started out with advocating for our veterans, we have about 20 some years with the disabled community, and at one point sat on the Commission on Disabilities for the City of Los Angeles. So I'm quite aware of the great advantages that I had being involved with it. I mean, we learned so much, and I was able to take my profession, the beauty industry, and use it as a form of rehabilitation. So, I mean, it was amazing what we were able to do. And we were taught a lot too from them, So, it is a good feeling to know that you are involved with them. But anyway, so we're going to wind down, Charles. You don't have any craziness to skin us with, right?
And then the craziness? No. I do have my little animal humor, but it's all clean.
Thank you, Lord.
So let me see here, It's all clean. Let's see. Okay. Let's see. I'm gonna show y'all, probably a minute's worth of stuff here.
No minute, that's too long.
Well, it ain't that long,
I hope it's not something crazy.
Nothing crazy. This is good stuff. Michelle, right, Michelle, like this is Comedy Central to her.
Now, what in the world is this?
My name is Perry C. Pigeon, and I work at an accounting firm downtown. Yeah, I could easily fly to work, but I'm in the corporate world now, so I commute just like everybody else, man. But I'm going to grab a coffee from my favorite spot and head right on to work, man. Y'all be good, man. Praise God. Has anybody seen my catnip? I could have sworn I left it on the edge of the litter box. I don't even remember. Oh, what the? I never knew. Anyway, guys, listen. You ready for this massage? Wait, hold on. I know that smell. Wait, that's the smell of the Catnip Enforcement Agency, the CEA. They busted me back in 2014 for possession of illegal catnip. Natalie, you working for the feds? Oh, you laughing out here? I remember it like it was yesterday. They had me busted for 12 days in the kennel with dogs.
All right.
He's so crazy. He's such a nut. Okay, so sign us, take us on out, Charles.
All right, let me see here. Well, before we close the show, I'd like to encourage our viewers, and before Ms. Connie closes the show, we'd like to encourage our viewers and listeners to visit Operation Confidence's resource page for some amazing resources. Also, we would like to inform everyone about Operation Confidence's Positive Redirection Team, a group of male and female veterans who are mentors, having overcome similar challenges and situations transitioning back into mainstream society. To be connected or become a team member, email us at info@operationconfidence.org. We are excited about Operation Confidence Combat Boots and Lace Women's Veterans Mentoring and Creative Arts Group. and Operation Confidence Distinguished Male Veterans Mentors and Dress for Success Remodeling Group. To get involved, email info@operationconfidence.org, and Zoom meetings will take place the first Saturday of the month.
Okay, thank you, Charles. And as always, we want to remind our viewers and our listeners that our goal for the show is to raise awareness about Operation Confidence's mission, which is to provide stable housing with a wide range of supportive services, including employment opportunities for our veterans, especially those who have experienced homelessness and are dealing with having a disability. So if you would like to get involved for our grassroots efforts, please send us an email at info@operationconfidence.org, and make sure you visit our website at www.operationconfidence.org. And please don't forget that to subscribe to our American Invisible Heroes YouTube channel. We joined in June 2021, and to date, we have over 12,000 views. So we're getting there. We're going to hit that million mark pretty soon. Each day it goes up. And don't forget to please give us $1. Send it to our website at operationconfidence.org. We want to make sure that that goes into our building fund for our teeny house project. So we're going to start ending our show now, but we want to let you know that Operation Confidence Invisible Heroes is also streaming on Spotify, Apple, Google Podcasts, as well as Amazon, iHeart, Stitcher, and Twitch. So we're getting the word out there. So we want to thank our guests for coming on. You guys are just absolutely amazing. And of course, our co-hosts, we want to say goodbye. Charles, you're going to give us our ending.
I'll play the video, and then we will see you guys next week. Next week is Super Sunday. So I'm going to be out. Super Bowl Sunday. I'm going to be out on location,
Okay, we'll talk about it.
Yes. So Miss Yuan, she just
thank
having
you,
fun.
Calvin. Thank you, Mr.
Thank you for inviting me.
Thank you,
for inviting me.
And Sean.
Thank you. You're welcome.
You're so funny. We love you guys. Thank you so much.
All
Where's Roy? Bye, my friend.
Bye. Thank you all.
I want to thank everybody who showed up and everybody who's listening. And just remember, hey.
That's right.
We'll be back.
You said the Lord Jesus for the confirmation.
Look, I didn't step on these kids, Howard.
Okay,
look, Cody, did I step on?
No. That was an accident.
That was just you with your stupid humor.
Okay. Hey, leave the animals alone.
Bye-bye. Thank you.